Thank you for joining our session, and thank you to the sponsoring companies you see here. Please note, there are additional sessions on this topic available to you during martech, from martech as well as these companies. You can find all these sessions on the martech agenda. And just a reminder, if you missed one, all the sessions are available on demand. With nearly 12,000 tools available, selecting the right martech can be challenging. Meet the Martech Intelligence Reports, free buyer's guides exploring specific platforms, including purchase considerations, leading players, adoption trends, and more. No matter where you are in the purchase journey, Martech Intelligence Reports can help.
Hello, I'm Ana Mourão, and welcome to Leveraging Zero and First-Party Data Only for Customer Activation and Engagement, an experimental marketer approach. And I call this an experimental marketer approach because we will see how building a strong foundation will allow teams, multidisciplinary teams, marketing teams to be more experimental and more innovative. Who am I? I have a lot of experience in digital marketing, CRM, and data operations. I actually like to work in the intersection between business and technology. I'm usually the one in the middle explaining technical terms to business stakeholders and business goals to technical coworkers. Working in that area really puts me in a very interesting spot because I can really see how to make the life of marketers easier or make their work more meaningful, more innovative. It's where I can see how they come together. I also worked in large companies, including 4 Fortune 500 companies, and mostly focus on B2B2C business models. B2B2C business models means that a company that sells to retailers and distributors, and then these retailers and distributors in turn sell to the customer, to the person who is going to use the products or services. So being there, done that. And what to expect from today's presentation? Well, you should expect to understand how zero and first-party data can really help beyond customer communication. So yes, we're going to engage and delight customers, but we're also making teams more experimental, more agile, and with that, more resilient. And we'll also see how to get there. So let's get started. The benefits of using zero and first-party data for customer communication are well known. From increasing sales to making shoppers more likely to buy or to have shoppers pay a premium for products, those are all benefits of really leveraging zero and first-party customer data. But there are also challenges. And here we can see that those challenges are pretty much centered in 3 things. One is how to collect customer data from different data sources. And once I collect them, I get to the second issue, how to make sure that I unify them under a person, one person ID. How can I put it all together? And then the third, how can I then segment this data and make this data available for activation, for communication with the customer? And how do I do all these 3 while also being compliant? So those are very important challenges. But stop. What if those challenges could also help your organization improve? What if by looking at those challenges, you could see a way to make your foundation stronger and help you create a better path for leveraging your customer data? So we have to start really the foundation with a robust and flexible piece. So here we're going to talk about where do we put the data, right? So we have to collect data from different data sources. We have to make sure that we collect zero and first party data from our website, from our campaigns, from email campaign behaviors, and we have to bring everything back to one place. So here we are going to be talking about database solutions for marketing. So databases that are really focused on marketing, on talking to customers. A database for customer data should consider 4 criteria. The first is, does it answer marketing related questions? There are many databases out there, many ways to store data. But here we are really thinking of customer data, zero and first party, and how we work with it, how we bring it together, and then how we use that for marketing, sales, CRM purposes. So this database should answer these questions. The second criteria is, how can we ingest data from these different sources? How would that work? Would it be automated? Would it be batches, real time? How would that work? How do I connect these data sources into my database? The third criteria is, unifies data to create the person-based ID. And then the fourth criteria is, it makes it easy to create segments of customers for activation. And an activation is a communication, right? A way to reach out to the customer. It can be via different channels, email, landing page, paid media, SEO, you name it. So it would be easy for us to then create those segments using this database. In my experience, a customer data platform or CDP checked all these boxes, right? So we're talking here about a platform that can help with the 3 challenges we saw earlier, right? How to collect data from different data sources, how to unify this data and create a profile, a person-based profile, and how to then segment and activate while doing all this under a very compliant environment. So here you can see the CDP at the center, and then on the left-hand side, the different sources of customer data, zero and first party, right? And then on the right side, we have the channels where we can activate data. Again, website, in-store, email, app, social media, etc. So with all that, you can create a unified customer profile with more data for activation and engagement, which is much better because instead of activating your customers just based on one piece of data or one behavior, you can now have a more holistic view of that customer and use that to really delight your customer and increase engagement. So data management here is also critical, right? It's part of the foundation because data management means feeding the right thing to your database. So we can see data management as the right diet for the CDP, making sure that it's balanced, that it's composed of both customer attributes, which are self-reported, information that customers give out to us, such as an email address, an opt-in, or a physical address, or an occupation, etc. And also have the behaviors, and the behaviors imply an action taken by the customer, such as clicked on an email, open an email, made a purchase, register the product, open a ticket with customer service. Those are all behaviors. So we need to have both attributes and behaviors as part of this balanced diet. And we need to have these attributes and behaviors coming from different sources. And all this needs to be very well governed, very well maintained, because by making sure that we are following data management, we make sure that the data comes as clean as possible into the CDP, And then it is ingested in the CDP as soon as possible and then added to that unified profile. And then it's going to be ready to activate right after that. So by feeding the data in a formatted way to the CDP, you make all that process much faster. So you make all the process from collecting the data to making the data available for activation much faster. And with that, you have a faster data unification and integration, right? And a unified 360-degree view of the customer. So you have here a strong foundation, right? The database that answer your marketing questions. And then you have data management, which is making sure that we have the right diet, that we're feeding this database the proper balance of well-formatted data. And that, again, is going to make the piece, the activation piece, the piece where we use that data to delight the customer much easier and much faster. And with all that, with a strong foundation and data management, we get to what we call here a customer data growth loop, right? And a loop is actually a very interesting way. I think it's a better way than a funnel, right? Because the funnel view of the customer can create silos in teams. And here, when we see the loop, the growth loop, it's easier for different teams to be on the same page and to share the same KPIs and the same objectives. Plus, the loop is self-sustained and self-contained because all the outputs of this loop will be added as an input into this same loop. So it's very defensible as well. Our customer data growth loop has 4 stages, and we'll see them one by one. First, it's the new or returning customer coming again. So, for example, you have an acquisition campaign, right? So you're acquiring new customers in your database via, paid media campaign or via SEO, organic content, social media presence, you name it. Or you can also have a retargeting campaign that retargets existing customers, right? So you will have a mix here of new customers getting to your database and existing customers coming back. And then you are going to collect the zero and first party data that will contain both self-reported attributes and behaviors. Then all this data will be sent automatically to the CDP, to your database, according to data management. So will come well formatted to be ingested and unified much faster. Which takes us to the second part of our growth loop, the activate and engage customer. So for instance, a welcome email message. So think of a new customer that just joined your database and is now receiving a welcome email message, right? Or an existing customer that is returning to a promotional web page. We will still collect more customer zero and first party data, right? And again, we will be collecting both attributes and behaviors. And now we can already use the information that we have about the customer in order to personalize communication, right? So that welcome email message can already contain the name, right? Can already contain whatever piece of data you had already collected. And that email message, if the customer clicks on it, it's already creating more data, right? So we're already enriching the data. Which takes us to the third part of our growth loop, which is the customer data enrichment, right? So all the activation and engagement that you created, any customer that engaged with your content generated more data, right? So, and this data will come to the CDP automatically because we did the proper connections with the sources of data. And then we'll be able to segment these customers in our database, in our CDP, using both attributes and behaviors, right? And then we can automatically send this customer data to activation platforms, such as email marketing platform or a CRM platform or a paid media campaign, etc., while adhering to compliance. So all here, making sure that everything is compliant and following data privacy. And then we get to the fourth part of our growth loop, which is customer data for campaigns, right? So now that we have acquired data, engaged with the customer, and enriched the data of this same customer through our engagement with him or her, with them, we can now use this enriched customer data to further improve our customer communication, to further delight, to further customize and personalize. And we can also use that information to further refine campaign targeting. So if we're talking about a campaign to acquire more customers or to retarget customers, we can use the data we already have to make sure that we refine our audience. And that can lead us to decrease our cost per action or cost per acquisition. So growth loops allow marketing to be more experimental because, again, growth loops are self-contained, and the output of a growth loop is added as an input into the loop again. So that gives us almost as a kind of a playground for marketers, and we'll see how. You can now apply the experimental mindset within your customer data growth loop. So let's think of overlapping the two of them, right? So experimental framework means getting together with a multidisciplinary team that is involved in using customer data and determine what can be improved or which hypothesis should be tested. And then you can identify the variables and create those variables, be it different subject lines on an email marketing campaign, or different landing pages, or different greetings, etc. You can run the experiment, measure the results, and then catalog those results, document those results, and then you can make the improvements, or you can run another test, or you can refine your test. And when you overlay this experimental framework with the growth loop, that's when you can really be experimental. That's when we can all be experimental marketers, right? So the experimental marketing formula is a strong foundation of a strong database and data management, the data growth loop, plus an experimental framework that all gives you experimental marketing. And experimental marketing helps teams become more resilient, more agile. They can test faster. They can learn faster. They can test hypotheses they could not test otherwise. And they do that while collecting more zero and first party data of the customer and making sure that this data comes back to the database, is unified and added to that customer profile. So what are the next steps? Where do we go from here? So first, we need to grade the current state of your foundation, right? So it starts with the foundation, database and data management. Where is your company? So here you have like 4 phases, right? From left to right. So you're starting with 1 where there is no database, no data management, not sure which customer data is being collected, if any. And then we have step 2, which is there's some database, something in place, no data management. So data may come all dirty or unformatted, and there's no automation. Then we move to stage number 3, where we have the appropriate database in place, the one that fits, answer your questions, and fit your company way of working. And then we have data management in place, but we don't have automation yet. And we then get to the 4th stage where we have the right database, we have a unified customer profile, we have data management in place, and then you can automate the processes, right? So customer data will be coming into your database, into the CDP in this case, automatically, and then will be unified automatically into the customer profile, and that profile can be activated into another platform, CRM, email marketing, paid media, etc., automatically as well. So you need to have a critical view here and really assess where you are, and then the steps to get from one stage to the other. And even when you get on stage 4, there will be changes. That will be new sources of data or new ways of using the data. So there will always be something really to be changed here. So you can use this grading framework in repeat. So it doesn't need to stop when you get to the right database and automation, etc. No, you have other challenges and other changes you need to perform, and that can be used here as well. So after you graded yourself according to those 4 stages, and you have listed what it takes, at least overall, to go from the stage you are to the next one, then we go to the next step, which is getting that list that you just collected of how you're going to go from one stage to the next. And then you're going to plot this using these quadrants here. So on the axis here, we have the amount of multi-team effort, remembering that usually there are several teams, right, involved in collecting and activating customer data. So we need to analyze how much of everyone's effort is going to take. And on the y-axis, you have the impact in customer engagement, right? So anything that has a smaller amount of effort from the teams but can impact customer engagement, of course, is going to be the top priority, right? And then you're going to move to the second priorities, which is they don't take that much time, but they don't have that high of an impact in customer engagement. And then you're going to go to the third one, right? So third one, they take more effort, but they have a higher impact. So this is going to be the third one. And then the ones really at the bottom on the right, where they require a lot of effort from the teams, but have very small impact in customer engagement. So you can review if these could be removed or deprioritized. Sometimes we still have to do it because it may be something legal, something with compliance, right, that requires a lot of effort and may not immediately impact customer engagement. But that's okay, it needs to be done, which in this case, you can reprioritize it. But some of those activities on the lower bottom quadrant on the right can be really removed or really reviewed later on. Next, get your squad ready. Engaging and delighting customer is a multi-team effort. Which teams are involved? Each one of those teams should be represented in the overall multidisciplinary team that is involved in collecting and activating customer data. Start by finding shared KPI around customer engagement, right? So you may share a KPI of open rate, email marketing open rate that you share with the digital marketing team or with the brand team, or you may share another new customer data acquisition KPI that you can also share with another team, right? Or you can have the number of qualified leads that you share with the sales team. So find those KPIs and start with those. And those will give an idea of who should be involved in these conversations and who is going to be in your squad. And finally, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step. So here what we are seeing is not a hack. It's really foundational work that can help you really become more experimental, more resilient, more innovative, and can be used in repeat. So I hope this was helpful to you all. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please feel free to contact me via LinkedIn. And I'll see you at the next martech conference. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.